sold menudo, and they had like for menudo and burritos.
Okay, okay. Now, who helped make the menudo? Did you help cut the menudo?
Yes, my grandma would tell us, you have to come certain time, come and cut the menudo. So we went and cut them all. It was about 6 of us. We went
6
and cut-
grandkids?
Yeah, we
6
went and cut it.
grandkids?
Uh-huh.
And then you'd cut all the menudo and get it going and have it ready. When did you sell it? When did you-
Sundays?
Sundays?
Yeah,
Just Sundays?
after church. Yeah.
Just Sundays
Mhm,
after church?
mhm.
And why did you close down the tortilla factory?
Well, my grandmother got sick,
Hmm.
and my aunt didn't, well, she could have gone on with it, but she didn't want to anymore. And then when my grandma passed away, well, she figured, well, we might as well close it.
Mhm.
So they did.
So anyway, but it was, I remember that it was a very popular
Mhm.
tortilla store
Hmm.
because they had very, very good tortillas, very,
Yeah, and the Mexican
making
candy.
handmade.
and-
The gorditas are
Those
very
are
delicious.
The best, yeah.
¿Verdad que
Yeah.
sí? They were very, very good.
Yeah, we had this man that came from High Grove. He brought the paper, the opinion, and his name was, I think his last name was Gomez.
Mhm.
Yeah.
¿Cómo se llama?
He had a hard Mexican name, Apollonio. What is Apollonio?
Apollonio?
I think it was that or something.
Mhm,
Gomez.
mhm.
He would always come, and my grandma had to put aside some menudo for him because they would bring the paper on Monday. So she would say, she'd heat it up, and when he came, he had his bowl of menudo there.
So they, so
Yes.
she knew how to butter him. okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Te iba a preguntar also, Gloria, you had was it an uncle, Pete Lukey?
Yes.
How was he related to? Pete Lukey was one of the first people that
Councilman.
was involved in politics.
Mhm.
One of the first representatives from South Colton to belong to the city council,
Mhm.
because before that, in 1941, we had Johnny Martinez, who was in city council.
Yes.
And then your uncle, Pete Lukey Sr.,
Mhm.
ran for city
Councilman,
council
yes.
and won.
Yes.
Do you remember what year that was?
I
No?
don't really.
And tell me, how are you related to Pete Lukey?
His wife, that's my aunt, was my mother's sister,
Your aunt's name is
Edmelinda.
Ermelinda,
That was
and she was
my mom's sister.
your mom's sister?
She was married to my uncle.
And she was married to Uncle Pete.
Mhm.
Married to Uncle
Mhm.
Pete. And because he was on the council, did the family become good supporters of him?
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. Yeah.
So through him, the family became involved in Colton politics,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right. And what were some of the issues or topics or projects that Pete Lukey Sr. was interested in improving? Was he interested in improving services to South Colton? Because it was hard to get services to
Oh,
South
yes.
Colton.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. He built the library that's on Caesar's Park. I think that's what they named it. That's in my uncle's name. Lukey Center.
Oh, the Veterans Park.
Mhm.
The Veterans Park in South Colton.
Mhm.
Well, that's right. They named
Yeah. Library.
the center,
Mhm.
the whole center,
Yeah.
library and everything else.
Mhm.
They're on Veterans Park, at Pete Lukey Center,
Mhm.
and that services South Colton.
Yes.
Yeah, on O Street and Pine Street.
Mhm.
O and Pine Street. Yeah. Now, Pete Lukey Sr. Had a son, Pete Lukey Jr.
Yes.
And Pete Lukey Jr. was born and raised in Colton.
Mhm.
He went to high school, graduated
Yes.
from high school.
Mhm.
He was very active in high school. Went to Valley College, San Bernardino Valley College,
Mhm.
and then went to seminary and became a priest.
Yes.
Yeah. And after he became a priest, he was assigned to different cities.
Mhm.
And then you finally came to Colton. And what did you do in Colton?
Well, he told the bishop that we needed a new church because the church that we had was counting, it's too old and there weren't that many people would fit in it. But the bishop said no. Some cousin talked to the people and they all got together. They tore down the church and made it, the church it's there now, he made it. The people from town, all the people got together.
South Colton?
Yeah. Mhm.
South Colton.
And they made the church.
So, Pete Jr., your
Mhm.
cousin, did not get permission to build that church from the
No.
bishop.
Mm-mm.
He was a rebel.
I don't know.
He was a rebel. Now, so he just decided that we needed in South Colton,
Mhm, a church.
we needed a new church. And he said, well, let's build a new church.
Mhm.
Did he have a committee that
Yeah,
helped him?
yeah.
Um,
Mhm. They had people that did all the construction, people that did all the painting, people that put up everything. But, the whole town helped to build that church.
All of South Colton helped build the church?
Mhm.
Did they have the committee? Do you remember who was part of the committee?
Mhm.
Was it Manuel Padilla?
Yeah, he was one of them.
Uh-huh.
My dad,
Your dad?
Uh-huh.
Your dad's name was
Albert Castillo.
Albert Castillo?
Mhm. They call him Beto.
Beto.
Yeah.
I know him as Beto
Yeah.
Castillo.
Mhm.
Who else was on that committee?
That one is Carlos, I can't remember his
Mhm.
name. I can't remember who else, but I know there were several of them. Well, the whole town, actually.
So they had a
Yeah.
big committee that
Yes.
said, we are going to build a
They
church.
had painters, they had people that did several, they worked in their job. They
Mhm.
would come and help during the week when they were off, or on Saturdays and Sundays.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it was a community project that was
Yes.
put together by your cousin Pete,
Yes. Uh-huh.
Pete Luque Jr.,
Mhm.
the priest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, when did he start the project? When did this construction start?
Oh, and he was ordained in March 1462, and I would say about 2 years after he was ordained.
Oh, so it took him about 2 years to build the church.
Yes. Uh-huh.
In the meantime, Gloria, where did they hold services for
Well,
South Colton?
they would have to go to what is it, Immaculate or,
Did they ever rent the Wilson School to
No.
have services there?
No.
They didn't?
no.
Uh-huh. So they would go to the other church in
Mhm.
North Colton, the
Yeah.
Immaculate Conception for services. Okay.
I remember going to mass at Wilson School.
Yeah.
It did?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, during the time that they were building the
Mhm.
church.
Mhm.
And how old were you, Henry? That was what?
I don't know, I was in my 20s probably.
Uh-huh. So they did have services at
Yeah,
Wilson Elementary
yeah,
I
School?
they
don't
used the auditorium.
Uh-huh.
It's like a cafeteria auditorium sort of thing.
And was Father Luque presiding over the services?
I think he was. That I don't remember. I remember that they had the folk choir there and
Mm.
sang all of those,
Mhm.
Songs.
the modern sort of songs, because you didn't have an organ anymore.
Yeah, that's
So-
true. Mhm.
And some of the people that are still that still sing for San
Choirs.
Salvador, were in that group, Arturo Calles and some of those people. Actually, I don't think he's in the group anymore.
No.
But back then he was.
Oh, wow.
And, they sang with their guitars and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then later on, when the church was built, there was like a folk mass, and then there was like the traditional mass,
Mhm.
with Terry Constant,
Oh, yeah, she's still there.
and then there was the Spanish mass. I think the early one, like around 7:30 in the morning, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Mhm. They still have them. It's at 8 o'clock,
Oh, it's 8.
Spanish, and then they have the bilingual, and then there's 3 masters that they have,
Mhm.
8, 10, and 12.
Has I was going to ask you the next question, Gloria. Uh, When you were young growing up in Colton, has there been a change in Colton since you were young in comparing today? Like you mentioned the services.
Mhm.
I don't remember having bilingual services when I was young.
Really? Huh. Yeah. Well, actually, then they would also have it Greek, in Greek,
Latin.
Latin.
Latin, yeah.
They would have it in Latin. I remember that.
Now, but tell us about the difference now in Colton, when you were young and
Mhm.
today.
Mhm.
Today, is there any differences? Anything changed?
Well, I don't. To me, it's the same. You know, I don't think there's any changes
Mhm.
different from what I was growing up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The people are the same.
Yeah. You know all the people around.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you still live in the barrio of La Reserva?
Yeah.
Is
I
that
did.
your barrio now?
Yeah.
La Reserva?
Mhm. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it.
At La Reserva, they called it, I don't know why they called it La Reserva, but it was close to where the cement plant is.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
That's up. That I said.
Maybe a couple of blocks from your house,
Mhm.
¿verdad?
Yeah. Mhm.
And many of the people that lived in La Reserva, that part of the Colton, they worked at the cement plant.
Uh-huh. They did work, but now it's closed.
Yeah,
They closed it.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Anyway, is there anything that I missed, Gloria, that we should talk about? Henry, is there any other little
Oh,
items?
I noticed one question that we didn't touch on. The one right there where it says, when did the industry, this is the orange industry, start slowing down? I was curious about if you might mention
Mhm.
when that started happening.
See, we were, in that time when it started slowing down, we had a trucking company, and I think when something to do with the war, when the war was going to come or something.
Was it after the war
Yeah.
that people saw how wonderful Colton was, and they all wanted to move to Colton?
Mhm.
And that's when the housing boom started
Yes.
in the Inland Empire.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then the builders needed land to build houses.
Mhm.
So where was the land located? The orange groves.
Yeah, they tore down the orange groves.
So they bought the orange groves, tore
Mhm.
down the orange groves, and built houses. When did
Yeah.
that start? Was that in the 60s, mid-60s? Because the Bracero program stopped in 64,
Mhm.
so I would imagine that's when
Yeah.
everything started.
Mhm.
Everything started.
Well, when did they build the junior high?
In
We were last class to graduate from Wilson. That was in '53, and by then they had already finished. So I think they started on '52.
So
yeah. I
weren't
was the
they,
first class in
Mhm.
53, 54.
weren't they already starting to tear down the orange groves around then?
Oh, by then, yes. Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it just got worse and worse, didn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it did.
Well, for the builders, got better and better.
Did the Redlands Highlands Association provide oranges to the Pacific Fruit Exchange?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
They must have had other contractors that provided them.
Yes, because they had some up north that would pick and bring the food down to the packing houses.
Yeah. Because most of the packing houses were next to the railroad tracks.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
That was so they could take their citrus. You know, the train would be the one that would move, or the trucks, one of the two.
So the food came either trucks or railroad
Mhm.
to the packing houses. And the packing houses would
Ship 'em
sort
out.
them and pack them
Mhm.
and ship them out, and the railroad track was next to them.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Was this true of most of the packing houses?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're mostly all near
Mhm.
railroad track.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you don't see any difference in Colton now?
No, I don't.
No?
Mm-mm.
I've,
To me, it's the same.
I understand that a lot of the pickers, or at least a lot of the families that were involved in the picking, never had a shortage of food at home.
No.
They always were able to take some of the crop home.
Yeah, that's what sometimes they come around with the boxes. You know, now they come around with boxes selling them, but those they steal from the groves.
Well, you know, that's always happened, that
Mhm.
you would bring a big sack of oranges from after work,
Mhm.
and then you would sell them. But nowadays, we don't hardly have any orange groves.
No.
So people will go out at night and pick
Mhm.
their oranges and sell them, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Well, I guess it's the packing houses, I guess, where they sorted out the blemished oranges.
Yeah.
And those people got to take some of that food home.
Mhm.
Well, in our case, Frank, when I was a little kid in the 40s, those oranges would be thrown away in the dump. And our house was half a block away from the dump. And we would go there and pick those. Well, first of all, we'd go on top of the big orange piles, and we'd play war. We'd throw oranges at each other. And then afterwards, we'd
Take
pick
them
the
home.
best oranges and take them home. So we never hurt for oranges. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Gloria, you mentioned that. I asked you, do you see any differences in the way things were when you were young and the way things are now? You mentioned to me that your kids are off and running.
Mhm.
One lives in Minnesota.
Yes,
In the old days, nobody left Colton.
I know.
And then one lives in Orange Coast or Costa Mesa.
Costa Mesa, yes.
And again, nobody would leave Colton in the old days. Everybody stayed in Colton.
My youngest daughter, she was working in Santa Ana. She was living there. She finally got to the point, Mom, I can't do this. I'm going to get an apartment
Okay.
over there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, do you still have lots of relatives in Colton?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Well, we found out earlier before the interview that Henry's related to you. Now, how is Henry related to you?
I just know my dad told us that Margarita, he was
Mar-
related.
Margarita Gomez,
Uh-huh.
Henry's grandmother.
Mhm. He said he was related, that they were related to us, but he didn't tell us how.
You found a lost cousin today, this afternoon, Henry.
Well, I'll ask around and see if I can find out any information.
All right. Yeah, because that's when my dad, when we used to gather or something, and we didn't know, he would tell us this person is your cousin, this person, you know, in case, you know, you get together and wouldn't know you. But that's why, and we're also related to a man in Highgrove. I can't remember his name. Guillermo or something like that. Contreras. So my dad was Albert Contreras Castillo. Yeah. So we relate to those people in Highgrove.
Yeah, so I would imagine when your grandparents came to Colton, they had relatives here in Colton that,
Oh, yes.
that helped them settle in.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
right. And they came here in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gloria, is there anything that I missed? You know, I have a list of questions here. I wanted to take advantage of you because you work for the orange industry, and then you had your uncle, Evaristo Castillo El Gordo, that they
Mhm.
called him.
Yeah, they called him.
That was very instrumental in working with the packing houses, and then he was very instrumental in getting jobs for people.
Mhm.
And I wanted to talk about those areas, and we covered them very well. But I had no idea that your cousin, Pete Lukey Jr., was an activist, and he built the church without permission.
Yes.
Is there anything else? Henry, can you think of any other things that we missed?
No, it seems like, I mean, I've looked through the questions. It seems like you've covered them.
Gloria, anything else that you would like to mention to us?
No. I guess, like you said, covered everything.
Well, again, thank you very much for being
Okay,
with us this
you're
afternoon,
welcome.
especially on a Friday afternoon. and you taking time out this afternoon to be with us to talk about, and help us with with our oral history project. And Henry, you've been a loyal committee member, you always show up, so thank you, Henry. And then Frank, behind the camera, is kind of steadying, making sure that we get this information for posterity. So thank you, Frank, and thank you, everybody.